Hi, everyone. This is Bob Branco. Welcome to Branco Broadcast. How are you this evening? We're very pleased to have the Director of Rehabilitation Services for the Carroll Center for the Blind in Newton, Massachusetts with us, Jennifer Harnish. Good evening, Jennifer. How are you?
Hi, Bob. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. You can give us a brief background of what you do and how you do it, and then we'll take questions.
Oh, sure. Well, I started off at the Carroll Center as an intern in the counseling department, and then I started working there as the counselor, and now I'm the Director of Rehabilitation Services. So Rehab Services at the Carroll Center is our center-based training program for individuals who are blind. We have an adult program 18 and up through the academic year, and then we also have summer programs for teenagers. And in that role, I manage a staff. We have instructors, orientation and mobility specialists, communication skills, which is our overall name. That would include things like computer training, iPhone and Android training, note-taking, all kinds of record-keeping skills. And we have a woodshop instructor, manual arts we call it, fencing classes. We also have Braille, low vision training for those with some functional vision. And we also have personal management, so all things involved in managing day-to-day. And counseling as well, both individual and group. And we also do vocational training and preparation. So we have a vocational specialist as well, all parts of the rehab department, and a great group of dorm supervisors who work in our dorms for people who are staying overnight. What else would you like to know about the work that I do there?
Whatever you'd like to tell us, and if not, we can have our participants ask you things that you might not have covered.
Okay, that's fine. So,
or would you rather open it up right now? What do you want to do?
I could say a little bit more about it. I come to the program as a clinical psychologist. That was my academic training, and I did have a private practice for a short period of time. And one of the pieces of the Carroll Center role that really appealed to me was this understanding of the role that emotional adjustment plays in coping with vision loss. So for many individuals that we serve, they are coming to us newer to vision loss, either progressive vision loss or more sudden or adventitious vision loss. And so there can be an adjustment to that. So the Carroll Center believes in providing that both counseling supports, both one-on-one, sort of a private counseling every week, as well as in group. And also the living together in the dorm is a really nice peer environment. Many really benefit from that. Many individuals I work with often say that they may never have known a blind person before coming to the Carroll Center. So to come to a place where there are many others coping with, some of the changes and challenges and experiencing a lot of the gains that come with training is really a really important part of the adjustment to vision loss. So I was actually a consumer there. It's probably been 10 years now. Some of the people that I went there with were actually going to be having a 10-year celebration to, just recognize the friendships that we developed. And it really made such a difference in my life. I have RP, retinitis pigmentosa. I was diagnosed when I was 15. And, of course, at that age, the only thing I cared about was whether or not I could still get my driver's license. And at that point, the doctor said, yes, I could, and I didn't care anything else about my diagnosis for, many years. I was glad, looking back, glad to know at that age I could make some changes in my career decisions and knew in the back of my head I should one day live in a place that had good public transportation. and that did provide a lot of, guidance to the steps that I'd be taking as my vision changed over time. The Carroll Center was one of my first experiences with blindness training. I did do some community mobility through the Commission for the Blind. I got my first cane. As with many individuals I work with, I had one lesson. I was in my late 20s, and I'll always remember going up the street. A young kid said, "Mom, why does she have that big white stick?" And I turned to my instructor and I said, "All right, I'm done. We're going home." And, I always tell that story to others who are experiencing something similar because it took me a couple of years. I needed to get to know others who were blind, and then took on the training program and realized just how much developing my skills could do for getting a job, for being a better parent, and, just being able to make a difference in whatever I would end up doing. So I have 3 children. They're all teenagers now. My son is 18, and I have twin daughters who are 13, and they've been a great part of the journey, as I like to call it. Sorry, my daughter was saying something in the background. My husband as well. I really love living in the Boston area. I think that's an important part too. And I've kept the friends I made at the Carroll Center, so many of them. It's just so great to have that support of others who, kind of walking a similar walk. And now it's really nice to get to know individuals who come to the Carroll Center for their training, to see their growth over time as they go through the training programs. I should say we have other training at the Carroll Center. We're known for our center-based program, but when I began my internship there, and even over the 6 years since I've been working there, learned about so much more of what we do. For many who may be listening who were students, in like a K through 12 system, you may have had a TVI or an O&M specialist from the Ed Services Department working with you. We also have community mobility instructors and rehab teachers. We have a very strong technology training department. We have a newer website accessibility program, and we also have, I know I'm forgetting something. It'll come to me. But we do a lot of work in the community. We're really looking to kind of expand the awareness of the Carroll Center. We're kind of this small place in the middle of Newton, and we're doing a lot more now to make connections and support individuals who are blind or have low vision. We also have a strong low vision clinic and our store as well that has a lot of the day-to-day items that individuals who have low vision or who are blind use. There's a lot going on there, and it's been a great place to work.
Before I open up the floor to questions, I want to recognize 2 other individuals, Jennifer, and I know that you know them very well. How could you not? I'm going to start out by talking about Richard Roper, who was my very first mobility instructor here in New Bedford back in the 70s. He is one of the best in his field. He really, really is. I had the pleasure of seeing him again about a year or 2 ago at a support group meeting here in New Bedford. He was on the verge of retirement. I'm not sure if he has yet. But he's a good man and a good teacher, Rich Roper. Do you know him?
Absolutely. We just recognized him probably a year and a half ago. So he's really been an excellent instructor. And
of course, the other guy, Brian Charlson, he's been there for decades. Good man, knows his field, has helped me out a lot.
Yeah, he's the director of our technology department there.
Yeah. Good man.
And a big advocate in the blindness community, too.
He certainly is. Okay, I'm going to open it up to questions. My first person to ask questions will be Stephen.
I have more comments. I just want to say when I started the Carroll Center, I was like, I got to go through 12 weeks. I want to go to the tech program. But, I said, okay, mobility's great, and I guess I'll learn Braille since they didn't teach it to me at Perkins. But first day of classes, I enjoyed all my classes. I never thought of, fencing because when I was younger, I wasn't really into the athletics. So with all the skills, which are very important, I think the Carroll Center has done for me and a lot of other people has given me a lot of confidence that I didn't have. And I would have never gotten my MBTA job or published my book or started writing my second book if it hadn't been for the great staff and the support I got. And I guess my only two regrets at the Carroll Center was I should have built the Canadian rocker, and I wanted to have Ed for mobility. So I guess you're going to have to get that room for me so I can redo it. But thanks, you've been great, and I really, the Carroll Center for me is like I would advertise for you for free because I think it's a great place. It's done. I mean, my confidence. If I look, I can't believe it's been 3.5 years since I graduated, but I've just come such a long way. And like you said about the emotional support, is probably, of course, the skills, all that skill training is very important. But I think giving people back their confidence or improving the confidence is really very important. So thanks.
Well, and I think you do advertise for us just day-to-day basis the work that you do and the writing that you do. I mean, I think that's for individuals to leave and be able to go and live a full life. I mean, to me,
right.
that's in itself says what we're all about.
Yep.
And you were Project Search is another program that we're involved in.
That was really valuable, like I said, for the T. And I also found that somebody on LinkedIn found me, and I do web accessibility testing from home. So I'm pretty happy where I am now. So I really want to thank all the staff, and the supervisors were great too. Like you said, that peer support. And of course, when I was there, I was a little. Everyone rebels a little, but I was put into shape pretty quick. And like I said, fencing, I'd like to do more of that, but.
Yeah, the fencing's pretty fascinating.
I thought so.
All right, Joni.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, Joni.
I have a couple of questions. Do you have a program for people that are, in the elderly group? In other words, can a person come to you if they're, I don't know what the age is. What, is it 55 now where they have this elder thing?
Well, it depends. If you're coming to the programs in the rehab department, there is a program we offer called Essential Skills, and that is geared towards seniors. If you're working with the Commission for the Blind in Massachusetts, you would want to talk to them if you feel you needed some training. It's a 2-week program that we offer.
What about out-of-staters? Do you take out-of-staters?
Well, that's up to the state. We do have relationships with many other state agencies, and we have had individuals approach us from other states to find out about services. Our admissions director is the person to contact. Her name is Kathy Felt, F-E-L-T, and if you call the main Carroll Center number, you'd be able to talk with her, leave her a message, that you're interested in some training. She can tell you about all the services that we have.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Marcy.
Peter Donahue.
Hi.
Marcy, you're next. Peter, you're after Marcy. Go ahead, Marcy.
Okay. I also went to the Carroll Center.
Very nice.
And it was great. I learned a lot. I mean, I was in between jobs and stuff, and I got my confidence. And then I went to Children's Hospital, and then they had the program for the award for the Carroll Center. And my boss, the head of mobility, the director filled it out, and I was very honored to receive the award.
So you're
in
referring to
'89.
Carroll Awards. Yeah,
Yes.
you're one of our Carroll Award recipients, and that's something that every year, together with the Commission for the Blind, we recognize blind employees. So, congratulations.
And thank you. I was very, very honored to receive that. But like Steve says, I can't say enough about the Carroll Center. I just finished mobility training, refresher. I think, there's always improvement for more and more.
That's right.
And Joe Kolb, I mean, he's like, oh my God, I've never had such an instructor that I learned so much from.
Community mobility instructors.
Yes. And I can't say enough about him. But,
Okay, Peter.
Okay, Jennifer. Okay, I have a couple questions. Well, the first one is a two-part question. First of all, the first part of that is for a student who goes through your program, about what is the cost for a student to attend your program?
Well, it depends on the program that you're doing, and you would need to talk to the state agency who you're working with in terms of the cost of the program and to find out more about that.
Oh, you just led up to the second part of my question, and that is, this is, as I said, this first question is a two-parter. Commonly, most blind people commonly, get sent to you or have their expenses picked up by some state VR agency for the blind. Welcome to the age of disruptive marketing, and welcome to the age of alternatives to voc rehab. We now have things like crowdfunding, networking, and other types of platforms that allow people to raise money that would, for various purposes. And attending a program like yours would be one such purpose, one such reason to use one of these things, as opposed to going through a state rehab agency and having to, go through all the hassles and all the stuff that you got to deal with one of them. And, some people like Joni who just want elder services don't always qualify. My question would be, if someone said, okay, this is you told me what the training costs. I have these resources available. I don't want to have to tangle with VR. And under the ADA, Section 5, Title B. Keep that in mind. Section 5, Title 5, Section B. If a person can demonstrate that they have an alternative way to fund their training at your facility, would you work with that consumer who is using an alternative, to the state vocational rehab program, to fund their training at your facility?
Oh, absolutely. It's not that it's a requirement to go through a state agency. So we do have individuals who pay privately, and whether that's done through crowdfunding, other methods of bringing this funding. We have a very active development department as well, so even with the agencies funding the training at the Carroll Center or in our community or at services departments, we also do a lot of fundraising ourselves, so that development department is very, very active so that we can, be able to have the programs. But yeah,
here comes the second question.
Call Kathy, call our admissions, just call and ask for admissions.
Okay.
Prices will vary depending on kinds of training you're doing, who you're working with, anything like that. So I can't give you a specific number. But
actually, we're okay. Well, I'm just curious about you. Actually, we prefer the structured discovery, consumer-driven approach, which is used by some of our agencies, such as the Louisiana Center and the Colorado Center for the Blind and Blindness Learning in New Dimensions up in Minnesota, and the Chris Cole Rehab Center here in Austin does some of that. And you mentioned connections a while ago. This leads up to my second question. I had the privilege of attending two of the major schools for the blind, Oak Hill and Perkins, and and I got a good grounding in blindness skills, and got a good education, but there were opportunities to participate in activities I wish I could have taken advantage of, but because they were not offered, didn't get to do so. A couple good examples. There's a program out there called Ski for Light. And, if you've got consumers that want to try skiing, want to be able to, try skiing, and likewise, another organization called the United States Blind Golf Association has been around for years. These schools for the blind never approached us to find out if we wanted the opportunity to try these activities, and they could have partnered with these two groups to offer those programs and give us that type of experience. And my question is, would you guys, or have you partnered with these two organizations or other, sports organizations for the blind, or, whatever a consumer would be interested in, to ensure that they have that experience and that they don't, that they're not sold short, and that, they can test their limits? I mean, I know of blind people who have gone skydiving. The Colorado Center for the Blind does technical rock climbing, and I know because I tried it myself. So I guess that's my question: is are you willing to make connections so that blind people that are interested in these types of things have the chance to participate?
Well, we're not just willing, but we do that. We have a weekly resource seminar, we call it. So we bring in individuals from full variety, not just recreation, but other resources that blind individuals may be interested in. And actually, Ski for Light, Marie Hennessy is coming to speak to our students. We also, Bill McMahon, the late Bill McMahon, was very active in the Blind Golfers Association. He was a longtime member of our board. Unfortunately passed away earlier this year. Really it is a matter of just providing that education on what exists. The summer recreation is a really critical part of our summer programs for teens. So we had involvement with ice hockey and an organization who came in to introduce our students to ice hockey, and they did some street hockey. We do all kinds of sports in the summer. Fencing is one that we're known for, especially because of its relationship to things like orientation in the environment and other things that are connected with mobility. But it's also a big part of confidence building as well.
Yep.
So I was introduced actually to blind skiing through the Carroll Center when I was there. I hadn't skied for about 15 years, and through one of the programs that they had back then, I was able to start skiing again, which has been great.
All right, moving right along, we have Lauren.
Hi, Lauren.
Hi, Jennifer. I'm Lauren, and I'm from New Jersey, and I've heard all about the Carroll Center and all the wonderful things that it's done. So I don't really have any questions. I'm just here to listen to everything you have to say.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, Dawn.
Hi, Dawn.
Dawn?
Bob?
There you go.
Yep, you're on.
There he is.
Okay. I was muted, so that's why. Okay. Thank you, Bob. Jennifer, two very brief questions. Did you know who I feel was one of the best mobility teachers, Peter Waterfield? Did you know him?
Actually, Peter was my second mobility instructor.
Small world.
Okay. Oh, okay.
I've had many. It took me a while to get my act together. So.
Yeah, me too.
I live in Worcester, Mass, and I had Peter after I graduated from Perkins. And Peter was my community teacher. I know he's retired now, but he was something else. When he would work with the client, he would make you feel like he's a personal friend, and he was the best in my book, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, those people skills are so critical when you're an instructor, and
he made you feel such at ease, you know. How long ago did he retire? Do you know offhand?
You know, I don't. I worked with him maybe 15 years ago, so I know as of 15 years ago he was still working in the field. But I'm sure he's actively mentoring people now as well. So.
Well, we just recently had a mobility instructor on Bob's your broadcast, and Peter is retired now, but that must have been some time ago. Jennifer, my next question is: do you offer you offer medical transcription?
As a training program, like in how to be a medical transcriber? Is that what you're asking? We don't train for specific careers. Certainly if, with computer skills and such, that's a really critical part of what we do. So it could definitely be preparing somebody for a field of that sort.
Okay. No, I was just curious because I worked in the field from the middle 70s to the early 90s for the greater part of 13 years. And at that time, I was working on electric typewriters, but computers were not really out in my day. But I was, I was just wondering whether the Carroll Center offered a medical transcription. So,
in the one piece we do in the medical world, it's not job training, but we do have a registered nurse who trains individuals in managing healthcare needs. Diabetes is a special focus that we have, but certainly all kinds of adaptive methods. So I hadn't mentioned that, but that is part of the training that we do. And diabetes care training, we also do that out in the community.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for the question.
Okay, Karen.
Yes, Jennifer.
Karen?
I believe I've mentioned before, but I just want to say I really enjoyed going to the Carroll Center in 1984 and 2003 for computer training. In 1984, it was more an evaluation, introducing me to the computer. I didn't really go further than that. I began working about a year later. And in 2003, though, I really enjoyed the training and introducing me more to the Internet and Word and email. I knew some of it anyway because I'd been trained by a rehab teacher in introducing me to the computer. But it helped me when I got my computer with the help of an agency, Memorial Foundation out here in the Worcester. And it helped me with learning how to use it and eventually being published in both Consumer Vision, and I also wrote for the Ziegler. But I just want to say I think the Carroll Center is a great place, and it's just the atmosphere there was wonderful, and I made some friends.
Yep.
Well, thank you. And I think you've pointed out that updating of technology, that's certainly one thing that individuals come back for. As we know, things change much.
I had a question for you. Do you have distance learning that, people pay for? I've heard about it.
At one point, we were doing some diabetes distance learning, and, I'm not aware.
It's in computer stuff. I think I had that for a while. And then I stopped looking it up.
Topics. Yep. It's not something that I'm not sure currently if someone can take those. are currently available. We're always looking into other methods of sharing information. Now, this wouldn't be distance learning, but while we're talking technology, people can set aside the Tuesday before Thanksgiving every year is our technology fair, so that's open to the public. And there's always...
I keep on forgetting about it.
Yeah, Tuesday before Thanksgiving, demonstrations of new topics in technology, and a lot of vendors who come and talk about the services they provide, including some recreation organizations. Just to go back.
Yeah, another question I wanted to ask you is, do you ever, with your skiing, provide any lessons in like water skiing or anything like that?
We don't do water skiing, but
why not?
I tried water skiing once. I have to admit, I didn't get very far out of the water.
I didn't either, but I'd love to learn it.
Yeah, that would be fun. We'll have to figure that out somehow.
On the Charles River.
What was that?
Okay.
On the Charles River.
That's right. Yeah.
Anything else, Karen?
Nothing else that I can think of right now.
Okay. There is one other person, I believe, on the line that I have not identified yet. Who haven't I called upon?
How about Cleora?
Cleora, you're next.
At last I'm heard.
Hi, Cleora. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks.
This Carroll Center sounds exciting. A great benefit. By the way, I also have RP.
Oh.
I wish mine had been diagnosed when I was a teenager.
It really does vary from person to person.
Yeah, well, a lot of it has to do if you go to a doctor that knows what it is.
Yeah, that can take some time.
My brother was diagnosed when he was in New Jersey. He went to get his eyes checked, and I said, well, you have RP, right? And my brother goes, say what? Right. What is this? And then through that I found out, but this was, this wasted about 15 or 20 years of my life not knowing. What is the maximum number? Do you have a limit to the number of students that you have at a time, or do you just, I'm sure you can't just take, everybody that, what is the maximum of students that you have at a time?
Well, it depends on how many are in the dorm. So we have dormitory space for 20 students, and then we also have students who will commute for their training if they live close enough to be able to do that. So on campus, we would have 20 living in the dorms. In the summer, we actually rent a dorm at LaSalle College so that we can provide a couple of additional programs, and we just need to make sure we have enough space for everybody to be. So we do a work preparation program, and those students live in one of the dorms over at the college, and they get the college experience. So
that's not too far away.
The highest, maybe, one or two commuting. It really varies.
So you must have a really pretty good-sized staff then to really give good attention to everyone that comes.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of content areas that are important to teach, and so we want to be able to cover those, thoroughly. And then our dormitory supervisor staff, we have a supervisor on in each. We have 2 different dorms on campus, and so each one is staffed with a supervisor. So those are additional staff as well.
So maybe so I'm not sure then. Is that 20 students in one dorm, or is that 10 students in each dorm?
There's five students in one of the dorms, and then we have another 15 in the other dorm.
That's St. Paul, right? Yep.
Yes, St. Paul's is the larger of the 2.
I see. Okay, well, wow. I may, if there's some contact information here at the end sometime as to how to contact them. I think it was Joni that was asking about, and some others that had asked about maybe remote training or access for
out of state or
older, out of state, or like older students. As was pointed out, say like now the way what used to be called the Commission for the Blind is, it's just about become a point where people like me, don't qualify for anything because I'm not looking to be trained for a job or anything like that now.
There you go.
And
it's difficult, with state funding.
That's right.
Please, everyone, advocate with your representatives, with your state senators, for the importance of those kinds of services, not just to working age individuals.
Mm-hmm.
I have to kind of defend the Commission for the Blind, because if it wasn't for the Commission for the Blind, I wouldn't have been able to go to the Carroll Center.
Right.
To have Joe Kolb as an instructor.
Well, that was kind of when I reopened my case. They were like, "Do you want to go to the Carroll Center?" And of course, back then,
right.
I kind of have to. Not really, but I'm glad I went through because they helped me out. You got to go. It's a
catch-22.
Yeah, one hand watches the other. So I could have said, "No, I don't want to go to Carroll Center." And they said, "Well, I guess we can't help you then." So they helped me a lot. And when I saw how much it cost to go, I was really grateful that I had somebody funded me to go, because it was like I would have never been able to come up with that kind of money.
Exactly.
I defend the Commission, for all the faults. Nothing's perfect, but I'm just grateful I had the opportunity to do it.
We still have a couple of minutes. If anybody wants to ask another question, I think we've covered everybody on the call.
Oh,
Karen, I had one question to ask.
Can you?
Or just Cleora had another question. I didn't realize.
I think Cleora beat you by a quarter of a second. Go ahead, Cleora.
I was wondering if we could get the number for the Carroll Center or contact.
Yes.
Not a bad idea. And also a website, Jennifer, too.
Of course. So the phone number, our main phone number is 617-969.
I didn't catch
617. I'll repeat it a couple times. So it's 617-969-6200. That's 617-969-6200. And, when you're calling, you can ask about, for admissions or just to find out more about our services. Our website is www.carroll, which is CARROLL.org. And I would just also just about every month, the first Wednesday of the month, we have an information day, and that is open to anyone who'd like to come and learn about what we do at the Carroll Center, and you'll also have a nice lunch as part of that. So you can call that main number to register for that information day. And some people just drop in. Like I mentioned, we have a great store on campus with a lot of the supplies that individuals might use when they have low vision or are blind. I've even bought some for my parents who have great vision. Good stuff.
Karen, you had a question.
Yes, I had a question as to how long does the independent living sessions last now? I know they used to be 16 weeks. I'm told that they're not anymore.
So the independent living program is a 12-week program.
That's what I want.
Right.
We also have what's called the vocational transition program. That's a 20-week program, typically geared towards young adults who are new to the employment world.
That's good.
We also have the technology department. The length of its programs varies, but right now there's a 6-week program called Computing for Employment, and there'll be another program starting as well, and that includes vocational preparation as well as part of it. And then in the summer programs, they range from 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 7 weeks, just depending on the program.
Do you know why they went from 16 to 12 weeks?
I wasn't there when that change happened, so I can't answer that question.
Right. I was just thinking about, because I remember Father Carroll book was talking about the 16-week program, and I said, wow.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting.
Yeah, I guess it probably had to do with overall funding for training. The state commissions, their hands are often tied by the federal and state funding that they receive. So.
Any other questions?
Peter Donahue.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, Peter.
Okay. Speaking of O&M and mobility instructors, I wonder if there's a guy named William Lydon who's still teaching up there in Boston. He was my instructor at the Oak Hill School for the Blind.
I'm not familiar with that name.
Okay.
But again, I've only been employed at the Carroll Center for 6 years. So.
Okay, yeah, because he was a good instructor. I think the reason why they matched me with him was because both he and I were from the Boston area, and he knew I was from there, and and one of the things that happened when I was in Oak Hill is that I got training to work the entire route from between Oak Hill and my home in Brockton. And I did that whole thing on Greyhound and public transportation entirely on my own before I was transferred back to Perkins in 1973. Now, one thing that we are blessed with here in Texas, and I know that there's a future guest who's going to be discussing this subject in detail, and I hope that you'll be free to join us, and that is down here in Texas, we are blessed to have 3 blind O&M instructors, one of whom worked with my wife, Mary. And she has had the experience of working with with both sighted and blind instructors. And the sighted instructor that she had when she moved here almost left our place the hard way. That lady would have had her using paratransit to go to the mailbox. On the other hand, when she got training, when she went to work for Marriott in their reservation center here, the paratransit wouldn't take the blind workers all the way to their facility because it was outside the transit area. So they got a guy named Garrett Aguilar, who's he's a sight instructor, but he got his training through Louisiana Tech University, and he got so he got structured discovery training, and he had just about all of those people working the route and walking between the drop-off and pickup point for Viatrans, which is our paratransit service, and the Marriott Reservation Center. And you talk about peer mentoring and stuff. It's just terrible that we do not have in New England, of all places, that things are not more progressive, and that we have blind people teaching these types of skills up there in New England. We have it's worked out real well in a lot of other places around the country. There's a track record, and I really think it's time that more agencies around the country stop ignoring it, and let's put more blind people to work and get that 70% unemployment rate down and give blind consumers a better experience when they have this training. Good to hear from you.
Well, and thank you for sharing. I think you're definitely right about getting people to work, and that's certainly something we feel very strongly about.
Anyone else? We got a couple minutes.
I had a quick one on.
Steven.
Is Nick still at the front desk? He was a great guy.
Nick has retired.
Yeah, I thought Marion told me that. And how about Dina Rosenbaum? Is she still working there at the
She is. She's our chief program officer now.
Oh, wow. Great.
So she manages my program as well as others.
Oh, okay.
Jennifer, I have a question.
Go ahead.
How do you feel about the partially sighted and blind people? Do you feel we're getting enough representation other than just White Cane Day? I mean, with all the other different things like Alzheimer's, arthritis and everything, all the different publicity, do you think we get enough?
I think it's what we all put into it as a community. I think, although there are structured events like White Cane Day, Blind Day, other opportunities like that, I encourage everyone to go to their state representatives or senators, stop in at their office, visit your local rep. I always just say don't wait for someone else to organize an event for you.
Yeah, I did do that White Cane Day. I went to everybody when I was in the State House.
Yeah, and I mean, share with them what's been helpful to you as a blind individual, to become employed, to raise a family, to be active in your community. I think those are the kinds of things that, to put a real face on whatever someone's situation is.
I went to Legacy Place with my girlfriend, and she and I were walking, and this little girl said to her mother, what's that lady? Why does that lady have a white cane? And the mother turned around and said, oh, don't go near her. She has a disease. And I turned around and I said to the little girl, I don't have a disease. Your mother's ignorant. I carry this because I'm legally blind, and it's supposed to show that I have a problem with my sight. Please be aware.
Yeah.
And
what we talk with our consumers about is just not only how to advocate, but also how to explain about their vision loss.
Yeah.
I always say that most people aren't kind of trained in how to talk to someone who's blind, or about how blind people learn to do things that they do.
Yeah, so the security guard, there was a security guard and a regular Dedham police officer, and the Dedham police officer said, lady, if I could give out tickets for stupidity, you would have a bunch of them.
Well, it sounds like you had some good people on your side there, and good people for just speaking out and explaining. I think that
Yeah, my girlfriend was afraid that, with everything today, that she would, beat me up. But I'm not afraid.
Yeah.
Because if you don't advocate, who's going to do it for you?
Yeah. And I think just giving the explanation. Using the words. Often people don't know what words to use, so you're modeling that I am legally blind, and that's why I use this white cane. Those kinds of things help people know what they might say in the future. And who knows, that the woman...
The other thing is there's I saw in a book that was sent out to me, but I've never seen anyone use it yet. Red and white describes deafness. The red and white cane. It looks like a candy cane.
Okay.
Oh, I had a question. I think Marcy was going to ask it. Are you aware of? Because I know you have a lot of psychology background about blind people and rocking.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
And I'm wondering if you have if anyone has a theory about that, because I used to do it when I was younger, and I think it was just a way of I didn't have any other stimulation, so I was kind of I don't know if you're familiar with that.
I have heard of it, and we do have individuals now and then. I have heard the theory about self-stimulation. Another, when we work with individuals on general soft skills, one of them would be, if someone is raised and they're blind, they're not seeing how other people move or don't move about, and without that experience, for example, most people, if you can see, you talk with your hands, but no one ever says to you, oh, move your hands when you talk.
Right.
You just see other people doing it and pick it up that way. So there's certain things that need to be taught, and that may be one of them. What to do if you feel like you need to rock. There's some different substitutes that you could have. But it's not an area that I have any specific training in.
Right.
Those are just some things that came to mind when you were asking.
Well, I have retinopathy, ROP, retinopathy maturity. And when I was a child, I rocked, and when I'm by myself, I will admit it, I still do.
I do too sometimes.
It's a comfort thing. But my parents were fantastic. And this is Joni, by the way. My parents were wonderful, and they made me extremely independent, and so that I could live in a sighted world. They constantly pushed me to look at the person that I was hearing, just try to develop not eye contact because I couldn't have eye contact, but be as close to knowing where the person is and trying to direct my eyes to where they were. And I was very fortunate. I started learning at an early age. They just made me be independent. My mom started teaching me cooking skills and things like that when I was very young. It was just a natural part of what they taught me. And I think that rocking is something that people, you see people that have never seen, I think that do it more like ROPs or people with what you probably would call congenital blindness do it. And it's, I was taught that you don't rock in public. You don't poke your eyes, which was something I did when I was little. Those are all comfort things I think that blind kids do because you can't look around and see what's going on around you. And yes, you have your ears to listen to everything, but you need some kind of stimulation. So I think that's what the rocking thing is.
Well, it sounds like you were taught that, just like for many behaviors that don't have anything to do with blindness, kind of the idea of there's a time and a place. And
exactly.
How do you make decisions? Not to say that rocking is a bad thing by any means, but to bring up that point that there are certain things you might save for, more private time and more when you're in public or on a job or in school. But then, what you said about your parents is really key. We work a lot with families on, helping them to learn what their young people are learning to do. So to encourage them to, I always like saying to all the parents at the end of our summer, yes, your child learned how to do his or her own laundry and gets a big cheer from a lot of the families who are there. But the key is to keep letting them keep doing it.
Yep.
And so those are the kind of things that, we like to.
Yeah, that's important.
Well, I think that, it was my mom would give me stuff to wash when I was about 4 or 5, and I had a toy washboard. I was a little kid, and I was washing things, and it would keep me busy, and it would keep me out of trouble, and I would help her. All the time she had me in the kitchen always cutting up things and peeling things and using sharp knives. And people would say to her, how can you let Joan use sharp knives? And Mom would say she's going to be using them when she gets older, and I need her help. She's my scullery maid. And we laughed a lot about that. And she said, Joni, do you feel like being my scullery maid? I said, what do you need done? She would tell me, and I would take the peas out of the pot or shell the lima beans. And I grew up my family really didn't know anything about blind people, and I think they were shocked too that when they had me, I was 3.5 months premature, and this kid couldn't see. What are we going to do? But Mom decided, and Dad too, they were going to make me do things for myself. And I was doing stuff very, very early. As soon as I could do things.
If we ever meet, you'll have to bring your specialty. We'll have a potluck.
Well, I was married, and I'm divorced, and I had a child. I had one child who passed away. But I always cooked for he and his friends and had kids over all the time. So.
Well, that's a good sign. If you cook well, then you get a lot of the kids coming to the house. So.
Yeah,
this is true.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Well, Jennifer, it's been a real pleasure having you with us tonight.
Well, thank you so much
and thank you for coming on the show. I know you have a very busy schedule, being a mother, being an administrator, being all the other things that you are to people. So thanks again for your time.
And thank you for having me. It was nice to meet everyone who was on the call.
It was nice meeting you too, Jennifer.
Thank
you.